And I think we could start the class. So welcome everyone and Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach.
We're finishing a few days from finishing the wonderful holiday of Sukkot. Which is called the time of our rejoicing. So the question is asked, what exactly are we rejoicing about? Because we have Pesach, for example. We know that Pesach is about time of our freedom. There is something to rejoice about, definitely, right? From slavery to freedom. We have Shavuot, which we know is the time when we receive the Torah. Again, that's such a divine gift, something to rejoice about. So the question is, what exactly are we rejoicing on Sukkot about? Because from the human perspective, what do? There are two mitzvahs on Sukkot. We sit in the sukkah and we shake the four species of the plants, right? So the question is, okay, from the human perspective, it could be cold and dark. Last week we sat in the sukkah and there was a rain pouring on us. Like, really, that's rejoicing. We shake the lulav and etrog. Okay, is it the reason of rejoicing? So the class is entitled today the secrets, unpacking the secrets of Sukkot. And the wonderful thing that Sukkot really holds a lot of secrets. And there is really a lot to be rejoicing about. Just as a side note about the lulav and etrog, someone pointed on Twitter that, I was approached by a person who asked me to shake a lemon and a lawn asparagus. So that's something about rejoicing. But anyway, our sages give us a few reasons, actually, why Sukkot is called the time of our rejoicing. One of it is that we're just exit from Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and to Sukkot. And on Rosh Hashanah, they said there was a time of our betrothal between Jewish people and Hashem. Yom Kippur was our wedding. So Sukkot is a Sheva Brachas. We enter into the celebration, into the Sheva Brachas of our union. Good reason to rejoice. Another reason is being given is on Yom Kippur is the Day of Atonement. So we clean our slate clean. And obviously, when we leave all the burdens, all the negativity, all the baggage that was weighing us down behind, it's a wonderful time to rejoice. And then we enter the sukkah with a clean slate. And sukkah, as we know, sitting in the sukkah and eating in the sukkah, dwelling in the sukkah is one of the mitzvahs of Sukkot. So what Hasidus tells us that when we enter the sukkah with a clean slate, we enter something that Hashem created for us that is referred to as makif, a clean, safe space. Basically, they say that sukkah is the divine chag. It's all-encompassing. When we enter to the sukkah, it's not just one part of us, the head or the heart or the foot. It's the whole person. It's the whole body that is sitting in the sukkah. And Hashem's presence encompasses us, something that referred to as the divine chag. The schach that we have above the sukkah is also reminiscent of the clouds of glory that were hovering over the Jewish people when they were in the desert, protecting them from the elements, from the heat during the day, from the heat cold at night, from whatever elements could come in the desert, keeping them safe. And the same happens with the sukkah when we enter the sukkah, even though physically it could rain sometimes or snow, but we still feel safe. We still feel protected. And if you look at the humans, how we're hugging the person, there is a part of us, three parts: the shoulder from the elbow to the wrist, and then the arm, a little short arm when we hug another person. And it actually corresponds to the laws of sukkah. To be a kosher sukkah, it doesn't have to have all the four walls. it has to have a minimum of 2.5 walls. Hello, Zoya. Thank you for joining us. So, and this is 2.5 walls, the minimum requirements for the sukkah. It's like the human hug. And of course, once we want a big bear hug, we put all the 4 walls and have the full sukkah embracing us. And as we enter into that divine hug, into the safety, it's perfectly good time for us to rebuild that clean slate, because it's wonderful to have a clean slate. But you know what? You can't always remain a blank. You can't always remain with the clean slate. You have to rebuild something. Our sages tell us, like Torah tells us, turn away from evil and do good. That's what it says in Ethics of Our Fathers. So sitting in that safe space that Hashem created for us, it is time for us to rebuild something positive as we turned away from negativity on Yom Kippur. And actually we do it with the help of the guests. As you know, every evening we have the mystical guests attending our festivities in the sukkah. Of course, we invite our family, we invite our friends, we invite the real guests, and we give them real physical hug. But we also have someone referred to as ushpizin, the mystical guests that attend the sukkah, which are Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov, Moses, Aaron, Joseph, and King David. And they help us actually, because each of them, by this particular ushpizin, each of them brings special traits that we could emulate and incorporate in our life to fill that clean slate with something truly, truly positive. Abraham represents the loving kindness. From him, we learn the unconditional love, the loving kindness towards others. Isaac represents discipline. We learn to channel our drives, our talents, our dreams to achieve something. We actually need to be disciplined. Otherwise, we could dream as much as we want to achieve something, but nothing is going to happen. We have to have a solid plan. Yaakov represents compassion, Tiferet. So we learn to be compassionate towards other people, but also towards ourselves, to show compassion to ourselves as well. Moses brings to us the trait of humility. As the Torah says, Moses was the most humble person. Aaron comes together with Moses because humility and what Aaron brings, endurance, comes side by side. With once the people have humble, bring enough humility, that gives them the idea of endurance, because they remove themselves, they put their ego away, they put with that humility they leave place for Hashem to fill it, to support the people. Joseph brings the trait of bonding. We learn to bond with man to man, woman to women, person to person. We learn to bond with our families, with our friends, develop the true ties. And of course, we learn to bond with Hashem. And finally, King David, the final guest tonight, is bringing the feature of Malchut, of nobility, royalty. So we learn that we are the piece of divine. So we conduct ourselves properly. We conduct ourselves as a royalty, not in terms of arrogance, but in terms of the proper conduct and nobility. That divine hug is also something that is called unconditional love. How so? There are two types of love that our sages are talking about. One is called face-to-face, and one is called face-to-back. So what does it mean is on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, they say we get to face-to-face love. Hashem is looking us in the face, because usually when we care about someone and we want to criticize this person for a good reason, our kids, we want them to improve, we're not talking to their back, hopefully. We are looking at them eye to eye. We're talking face to face. And we tell them that we love them very much and that we want them to do something to improve, to grow. And this is what Hashem does on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It's called the Day of Judgment. And Hashem is looking us in the face and basically judging in the good terms, judging in the terms of helping to grow, helping to improve. But on Sukkot, when we hug another person, we don't hug their face. Basically, we hug their back. And this is pretty much what the unconditional love is all about. Because when you face person face to face, very often, it's something I have for myself too. I like you very much. You make me feel good. Our kids are so cute. They bring us lots of nachas. It's a pleasure to look at their lovely faces. And it's not just about them, it's about me as well. But when the person turns their back and you say, I still love you, I still care about you, this is something that is called the unconditional love. And this is something that we experience on Sukkot, particularly when we sit in the sukkah and we experience this divine hug. Being in the sukkah is also about the unity. The problem in our life, unfortunately, we're all very fragmented. Our life is fragmented. We sometimes view everything as the fragmentation, compartmentalizing. This is just the work, this is just home, this is just the shul. Everything seems to be broken. And unfortunately, so many people nowadays suffer from loneliness, suffer from lack of bonding, lack of attachment. Sukkah says, come all in and be united. Be united between the people, bring as many guests as possible, not only the mystical guests, but physical guests. Invite friends. Also, it says that because Hashem is hugging us all when we're sitting in the sukkah, we're told that even when the Jews are sitting in a physically separate sukkot, it's like they're all being in the same sukkah. And that's actually why many times people notice, I notice it myself personally, when you sit in the sukkah, you experience that sense of tranquility, that sense of peace, it's because we feel that unity, we feel that we're all united. And that brings that wonderful feeling of the tranquility that comes with it. Finally, I would like to share with you, before we move to the Lulav and Etrak, I would like to share with you another very very interesting view I learned from the late Rabbi Sachs' talk about the Sukkah. He talks about the book of Kohelet that is traditionally being read on Sukkot. And he finds it very strange because Sukkot is supposed to be our time of rejoicing. And yet if you open the book of Kohelet, it's a very depressing read. It starts right from the beginning, from the words futile, futile, everything is futile. Oh my goodness, what a depressing read it is. What kind of joy could it possibly bring to people who read it? And yet, it turns out that it's actually not only directly related and a proper reading on Sukkot, but it's actually supposed to bring us joy. How so? Kohelet was written by King Solomon. And as we know, King Solomon was the one who built the first temple, which was actually dedicated at the time leading to Sukkot. It was dedicated about this time with the great festivities. So he was the one who built the physical temple, the physical place where Hashem was dwelling. And we know many miracles that took place in the first temple. He was also known, as we know, for multiple wives, for multiple horses. And okay, maybe that's enough to make someone sad, but that's not what he was talking about. At the end of the day, he's realized that all the material possessions are really not the ones that bring in joy. And we know that from looking around, that sometimes it's multimillionaires and billionaires with the mansions and the Ferraris and the big bank accounts, but they're not joyful. They're sad. They're stressed. They have high levels of anxiety because material possessions, hi Rosie, material possessions are bringing us a lot of anxiety. Sometimes people, it doesn't even have to be the possessions, it could be the careers, the high profile career CEO, but again, it's a lot of stress. And they're constantly worried about losing their money, something could happen to their career, something could happen to their wealth. And this is what King Solomon is talking about in Kohelet. He says, when we realize that this is really all futility, and that's what he refers to, that it's all futile. When you realize it, and you understand that what brings you real joy, what your real possessions is your family, your friendships, the loved ones in your life. Very simple things. That simplicity brings you lots of joy because very simple, uncomplicated love we experience to our family, to our kids, it brings us true joy. Our very simple, uncomplicated, real friendships. This is all connected to joy. It doesn't bring any anxiety. It doesn't bring any stress. And this is what it's truly, this is what he's telling us. That's what it's truly all about. And as the result, when we're sitting in a very, very simple dwelling in the sukkah that are built from the very simple materials, and it has only Hashem for protection, that's where we realize this is the source of the real security, of the real joy, not the buildings and not the Ferraris or anything that comes with it. There is another mitzvah on Sukkot. It's the mitzvah of shaking lulav and etrog. And this is another beautiful mitzvah which has a lot of meaning attached to it. We basically bind up the four species. We take the etrog, which is the fruit of the tree. We take the palm frond, hadassah. We take the myrtle. We have the willow, and we tie them all together and we shake it. So again, the question, what is that all about? And again, there are different beautiful explanations of why exactly we're doing it and how exactly it connects to the theme of Sukkot, of the rejoicing. One of it, we just touched the idea of unity. And there are a couple of types of unity that these four types of plants represent. One of them, it says, and I can't remember if Rochel touched it last class, but I'll briefly repeat it. It represents four different types of people. The etrog, the beautiful fruit that has a taste and a smell, represents the people who are both full of Torah study, who are the scholars, but also full of beautiful deeds. So it's both the taste and the smell. The lulav has a very beautiful smell, but it doesn't have any taste. So they talk about the taller scholar, the one who has lots of knowledge, but unfortunately is not using it for good deeds. Then there is a myrtle. It's the opposite. It's someone who has very good taste, but no smell. It's someone who is full of good deeds, a wonderful, wonderful person, always helping others, involved in the community, but not really a scholar, neglecting some of the Torah studies. And finally, there is a willow. And willow is something that doesn't have any taste or any smell. So it represents the person who neither learns nor doesn't do anything. So the question is asked, how come the willow? We understand the first three, but how come the willow is included? And this is where the idea of unity comes in. That first of all, even such a person, when he or she is part of the community, when they're united, they shine. And without them, Hashem says, no. I want the whole unity of Jewish people, no matter what they are. And this is what brings us joy, being united, no matter who we are, where we stand on the level of knowledge or observance or involvement. And it also brings Hashem great joy that we're united together in all four types. And Hasidus, mystics go further and say that these four types of plants also represents the four letters of Hashem's name, the one that we usually don't say, Yud and Hey, and so they said that when we put them together, we unite the letters of Hashem's name, and we get united with Hashem. Etrog has a very, very interesting story that there was a fantastic class I want to share with you about Etrog that I heard from Rabbi Vivi Jacobson. First of all, the commandment, when it says about, it doesn't name Etrog. The commandment is actually take a beautiful fruit and shake it. So how do we know what fruit is beautiful? So it's actually the Gemara that tells us that the beautiful fruit is etrog. And why does it called etrog, the beautiful fruit? Because it has the same taste. The fruit inside has the same taste as the bark. And I also heard very interesting explanation. It says that originally, because all the trees were supposed to bear fruits and have the same taste, the fruit and the bark. But somehow the other trees didn't comply with that plan of Hashem. The only one who complied was etrog, and that is why it received the title of the beautiful fruit. And it basically represents the fact that etrog managed to reach its full potential. So there is a message for us here that there is a divine plan for each and every one of us. And if we actually go ahead, recognize and go ahead with this plan, the idea that we should be able, like etrog, to reach a full potential. The question is, though, we've heard about the beautiful fruit before. The beautiful fruit, without naming what it is actually mentioned at the very start of the Torah, something we're going to start soon enough. We're finishing the Torah and we're going to start again. And then the Breshit, it actually talks about the Garden of Eden that had many trees, and there was a beautiful tree. It says a beautiful fruit that Hashem, that caught Eve's attention, and the one that Hashem told not to touch. So we know the story. We know that Adam and Eve couldn't resist. That beautiful fruit was eaten. And as they say, the rest is history. So what's the connection? How come? And again, there are different opinions. Some say it was a pomegranate, some say it was an apple, but there is an opinion that that beautiful fruit was an etrog. So the question is, what's the connection between the story of Breshit, basically the lost, paradise lost, and the Sukkot. It's actually very, very interesting how the two are connected. So what happened at the start is that, as we said, as the Adam and Eve basically disobeyed Hashem, Hashem told them, we have all the beautiful fruit trees in this garden, and you're welcome to eat all of them. I just want you to not to touch that particular tree. And what it was actually telling us, what it was teaching us, that in a special loving relationship, like the one that Hashem originally had with Adam and Eve, there should always be a healthy boundary. For the relationship to be healthy, it has to be something that is out of limits, some very healthy boundary. And that's what Hashem wanted. He said, that garden, it's all yours. You're welcome. But I want you, there is one tree I don't want you to touch. And so the question is asked, what would have happened why didn't Hashem allow them to have all the trees after all? And the thing is, if they had all the tree, they would not be able to sustain the healthy relationship, because in a healthy relationship there is you and there is me. And yes, we love each other, and yes, we want this relationship, but we also want something that holds us back a little bit, that helps us to maintain our own individuality. Otherwise, when we melt in each other, there is no relationship. There has to be a healthy boundary. So what happened once they violated this boundary? They were ashamed. They were ashamed to the point that they started hiding from Hashem. And Hashem is asking, Ayeka, where are you? And of course, the question is asked, Hashem doesn't know where they are. But of course, Hashem wasn't asking, where are you physically? Hashem was asking, where are you in our relationship? Where are you in our bond? And the thing is, they say once they committed the sin, once they disobeyed Hashem, they were cursed with sadness. So what does it mean, cursed with sadness? Basically, Hashem never ever severs any ties with us. We are the ones who are blocking it. Like Adam and Eve, they were so ashamed of what they'd done, they put a blockage, they put a blockage to the relationship. And they basically brought this curse upon themselves, because the word that is used so many times afterwards is sadness. When there is a blockage in relationship, it naturally brings up sadness in the people's life. Now go back to Sukkot. Hashem basically says, let's have a second chance. It's exact same fruit, according to some opinions. It's the same etrog. But this time, I want you to do it on my terms. That's why now I want you to take it and unite it with other plants, which are actually coming. If you look at the other parts of the lulav, they are coming from different parts of the tree. One is the palm frond. It comes from the leaves, right? The myrtle comes, it's the part with the branches. And then we have a willow, which grows usually with its roots always growing close to the water. And we always compare Torah with water, with the source of life. So basically Hashem says, look, there are all parts. There is a fruit, there is a branch, there is a leaf, there is the roots. This is all part of the same body. Again, back to the idea of unity. This is all united. And now I want you to try again. I give you, in our relationship a second chance. Take the same fruit that brought all the sadness into your life, that caused you to put some blockages into our relationship. And this time, I want to reestablish those healthy boundaries. I want to reestablish this relationship. I want you to unite it together with the lulav, with all these four parts together, and shake it. Don't eat it, shake it. And this time, when you are doing it right. It restores that same unity, the same bond, unhindered, without any obstacles that we had before. And of course, when there is such a good relationship, when there is blockages removed, when there is that unity, it causes lots of joy. And that one definitely comes with the idea of lots of joy connected to the second mitzvah of Sukkot, when we're shaking lulav and etrog. And again, emphasizing the unity between Jewish people and emphasizing the unity with Hashem. This time we're doing things on his terms with exactly same fruit and as brought the downfall, the rupture in the relationship. And this time it brings lots and lots of joy into our lives. And the pinnacle of the joy that is coming at the end of Sukkot, of course, becoming, first it's Hashem Rabbah, but then becoming Shmini Atzeret and Simchas Torah, 2 more holidays that are coming at this upcoming weekend at the end of this week. And as our sages saying, what has been accomplished in Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur with tears gets accomplished on Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah, but with the pure dancing. There is the purity. The whole idea during Sukkot and Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah is the very, very simple, uncomplicated purity. During the Kol Hamoed Sukkot, there was another beautiful rejoicing. It's the Simchas Bechasheva, drawing of the water that was drawn with the great festivities, with the great dancing, and poured on the altar. And usually during the year, what gets poured on the altar together with sacrifices and libations was the wine. And wine usually represents something more sophisticated, something more complicated. We talk about some tastes of the wine, and that is usually connected with the intellectual activities, because usually when we're being very intellectual, it's tasty, it's like a wine, But here, during this holiday, we actually pour the water on the altar, because it just shows the simplicity of the very, very uncomplicated joy that doesn't require any external motivation. It's a joy that is coming from the fact that we're internalizing that love, we're internalizing that relationship, that we're internalizing Hashem's blessings. And the same goes for the Simchat Torah, for the Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah. We don't really study Torah. We don't really start until the next day, the following day, the final day of Simchat Torah, to actually opening and reading the Torah. We just grab it and we dance with it. And this is something that is not even prescribed in the Torah. It's actually coming from our own desire to do something extra, because when we truly love someone, we actually go extra mile to do something that's not even been asked, not even been hinted. We show our love for Hashem, we show our love for Torah by just grabbing it and dancing with it. And a bit of an advertisement, the big festivity, Saturday Night Live, is happening at Chabad, Calgary, Alberta, this Saturday night, with lots of dancing and singing and some good food. So, of course, everybody is invited and encouraged to come and to celebrate. And this is basically that simple joy, that real unity seals for us the good year, a happy year, a healthy year, as Hashem says that we are ready again to renew that relationship with the joy, that we're united within ourselves, with the people around us. And that gives with Hashem, and that gives Hashem a tremendous, tremendous joy. So I'd like, thank you so much for your attention. And I would like to wish everybody Chag Sameach. And may we all have a very, very joyful Simchat Torah, very, very joyful Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah, and be sealed, finally sealed for a very, very happy, healthy, joyful, peaceful year of Mashiach.
Thank you. Same to you, everybody.
Yes, to everybody. And great class.